Hey, what's up, guys? We're back. It's the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith.
Hello.
Got a little inside joke here on the shoot, so that's why I'm smiling and laughing. Well, actually, the episode's supposed to be out today, actually, right? But we're actually just shooting it. So I'll either put it out tonight or first thing in the morning. So it may be a day late, you know. Anyway, let me give you guys the usual spiel. It's a podcast about history, politics, and race. From a pop culture perspective, we're going to try to break it down simple and plain so that you guys can understand it. I'm a filmmaker from Trinidad and Tobago. I like to travel. Always had a love for history and politics. Chris is a veteran of the Army Reserves that works for the VA with a passion for history and politics as well. It's about truth. It's not pro any race, just pro truth. If the truth offends you, we're sorry, not sorry. That's our slogan. You know what I'm saying? So the way we do it now is for those who just tuning in. First of all, thank all the listeners on all the streaming platforms, podcasts, iTunes. I said podcast. All the podcast cell phone apps, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, everywhere else we are, Castbox or whatever that thing is called. All you guys, YouTube also, thanks for listening and tuning in and stuff like that. What was I going to say?
I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say the way we do it now is we both do a different topic each episode, and the other listens in, questions, chimes in, and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, so just about giving you guys information. And this week we have a pretty good one. I'm doing it on the Star Spangled Banner, our national anthem. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read you guys an expose done by Jason Johnson. He's a political editor at The Root and a professor of political science at Morgan State School of Global Journalism and Communication. And this guy, he frequents MSNBC, CNN, Fox Business, you know, Sirius XM satellite radio, all that stuff. But he wrote an amazing, and one of the things I always say I love about this show is that you always learn something new that you never knew before. And I had heard like inklings about what I'm about to share, but this is my first time finding out exactly what happened for the podcast. So I'll read through it, and then I'll add my own sense, and you could stop me at any time and ask questions and this, that, and the other.
Sounds good.
And, you know, so basically what I try to do, because we don't really study each other's topics anymore. Mm-hmm. So what I've tried to do is cover all my bases in case you had a question about something, whether it's a word and all that, just in case.
Yeah, I get it.
Because I don't want you to ever ask me something that the audience may ask, and I don't have an answer for it. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So that's what I've tried to do. So hopefully I've crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's, and I can get all the questions in. So yeah, man, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to say, which was kind of surprising, like with all the research I've done, was the first thing they say is the national anthem and the hidden racist history. You know, so our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, perhaps not knowing the full lyrics is a good thing. It is one of the most racist, pro-slavery, anti-black songs in the American Lexicon, and you would be wise to cut it from your 4th of July playlist.
Wow.
Now, that was deep. That's the first thing that came up. I was like, okay.
I got a drink on that.
I was like, okay, it must be, you know what I'm saying? I was like, wow. I said, it's a good thing I haven't really sang this song or stood up for it or anything. So let me keep going. Mm-hmm. The Star Spangled, and the story is really interesting, you know. Anyway, the Star Spangled Banner, as most Americans know it, is only a couple of lines. In fact, if you look up the song on Google, only the most famous lyrics pop up on page 1. Yep. And I'll read those to you guys to just give you a friendly reminder. So it's, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and thy rockets' red glare, thy bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the Star-Spangled Banner yet wave, oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave." Yep. Now, that's where we had all the ball games, the football games, the Super Bowl, the baseball games, wherever we are. That's what you guys normally hear.
And that's usually where it ends, too.
Right,
It's
that's
like,
usually
you
where it
think
ends,
that's
but that's not the whole thing. The rest of it was cut off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let me keep going. The story, as most of us are told, is that Francis Scott Key was a prisoner on the British ship during the War of 1812 and wrote this poem while watching the American troops battle back the invading British in Baltimore. That as is the case with 99% of history that is taught in public schools and regurgitated by the mainstream press, is less than half the story, which is what we covered that last time, how we don't get the true history in all the schools. I don't know if that was episode 9 or 10, but you guys can go back and check that out. But this is basically what he's saying. This is another example of what we talked about before, how they don't give us all the history in the schools when it comes to the real stuff.
Correct.
And what actually happened. So to understand the full Star-Spangled Banner story, you have to understand the author. Key was an aristocrat and city prosecutor in Washington, D.C. He was like most enlightened men at the time, not against slavery. He just thought that since blacks were mentally inferior, masters should treat them with more Christian kindness. He supported sending free blacks, not slaves, back to Africa, and with a few exceptions, was about as pro-slavery, anti-black, and anti-abolitionist as you could get at that time. Now, of particular note was Key's opposition to the idea of the colonial Marines. The Marines were a battalion of runaway slaves who joined with the British Royal Army in exchange for their freedom. Now that's really interesting. See, I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
That we had runaway slaves that joined with the British Army in exchange for their freedom.
Yeah, I never
That's
knew
deep
that.
as hell. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
The Marines were not only a terrifying example of what slaves would do given the chance, but also a repudiation of the white white superiority that men like Key were so invested in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All of these ideas and concepts came together around August 24th, 1814, at the Battle of Bladensburg, where Key, who was serving as a lieutenant at the time, ran into a battalion of colonial Marines. His troops were taken to the woodshed by the very black folks he disdained, and he fled back to his home in Georgetown to lick his wounds. So basically, he was captured by some of those same blacks that joined the British Army for their freedom. Mm-hmm. They got their ass kicked. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he took his ass back to Georgetown.
To heal
To heal up and stuff like that. The British troops, emboldened by the victory in Bladensburg, then marched into Washington, D.C., burning the Library of Congress, the Capitol building, and the White House. They burned it. Yeah, I didn't even know all this.
Didn't know that
you can imagine that Key, Francis Scott Key, was very much in his feelings seeing black soldiers trampling on the city he so desperately loved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A few weeks later, in September of 1815, far from being a captive, Key was on a British boat begging for the release of one of his friends, a doctor named William Beans. Key was on the boat waiting to see if the British would release his friend when he observed the bloody battle of Fort McHenry in Baltimore on September 13th, 1814. America lost the battle but managed to inflict heavy casualties on the British in the process. This inspired Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner. So that's when he actually wrote it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Right then and there. But no one remembers that he wrote a full third stanza decrying the former slaves who were now working for the British Army. So the whole thing, which is the rest of it, continues from where it left off before. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more? Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps, pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave "Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave." So that was the actual poem. I mean, the whole entire thing was meant to be a slight against the slaves that were free and helped kick America's ass with the British. That's why the thing was even written. So then, instead of leaving it like it is or taking it out of the lexicon completely, these sneaky mother suckers in the United States left out the third verse and have us saying this bullshit in school as kids, and it's actually against our people and our ancestors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, let me finish up.
I got.
In other words, you have a question?
I was just going to say some of the stuff I found out about during the time Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, and then people started to kind of talk about the whole.
Oh, seriously, the Star Spangled Banner.
So I was
stuff?
like, oh,
yeah.
You know, again,
like I said, I'd heard inklings of it before, but I never knew the whole story and exactly what happened and how it happened and how he came up with it, and you know what I mean. So, in other words, Key was saying that the blood of all the former slaves and hirelings on the battlefield will wash away the pollution of the British invaders. With Key still bitter that some black soldiers got the best of him a few weeks earlier, the Star Spangled Banner is as much a patriotic song as it is a diss track to black people who had the audacity to fight for their freedom. Perhaps that's why it took almost 100 years for the song to become a national anthem. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, if you want to hear more of the story, there's an excellent short documentary about this, The History of the Star Spangled Banner, by some students at Morgan State University. In the meantime, it might be a good idea to switch up your 4th of July patriotic playlist. That's the end of my thing today. And it's a quick one, but I just thought that it was interesting because, again, I had never heard the story. And I was shocked. And I know for me, I won't be having my, black child say it. And it's funny, when we were at her school the other day, she was doing 8th grade awards. They had gotten up to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I got up, but I didn't pledge. And I said, I'm not pledging to this flag. I mean, everything it means is blood and genocide and everything and colonization. And my daughter goes, yeah, Dad, me and none of my friends do it. You know what I mean? I said, good, keep not doing it. So now I'm going to either have her listen to this episode so she can get what the Star Spangled Banner is all about. So she knows the true history of it and not the BS they teach her in school. And
she'll start high school, so next year she can be in the class and be like, excuse me.
I got a question about this. And I'm not going to sing this song. And I don't blame her. And I don't think the people in the school should blame the kids of ethnic background for not wanting to actually sing this song. You know what I mean? Because I support her 100%. I'm saying, no, she's not singing it. But it shouldn't even be in the lexicon. Why'd y'all still even use it? Go ahead, Crispy.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, the most of the time you hear that is either at the most of the time you hear something like the whole thing being used is in sporting events.
Right.
Which is, like, it's.
But why there? Why do they even do it in sporting events? I don't get that.
Actually, which I would like to. I might do some research on, or I need to do some more research on this. But I do recall that things changed where that wasn't normally done just before. Like they may have done the Pledge of Allegiance or the Star Spangled Banner before a game, but how it evolved to be so patriotic, where you have service members and all that stuff. That's different because I found, I did read and learn that the government actually pays for it.
They paid to sing the Star Spangled Banner?
They pay like the NFL to, millions of dollars to do all those different things they do before the game starts, like pulling out the flag. But that's a little
and that's
state
the Star Spangled Banner included.
Because that's when. So Star Spangled Banner is when you get up and that's singing.
Sometimes they have a celebrity
singing.
Or a known child singer who was on American Idol or something.
And that's when people still put their hands over their hearts.
Exactly.
Now, this is not the same thing, but what's actually interesting is the pledge. Wait, so this is Star Spangled. So the Pledge of Allegiance. which I didn't. I thought you were, for some reason, I thought you were doing.
I know I switched it up on.
So
yeah.
So I looked that up. So I got to add some information that I just saw on that.
Yeah.
Is that, did you know that when they first started doing the Pledge of Allegiance, it was almost like a Hitler sign?
No, I didn't know that.
So you would kind of have your hand somewhere over your chest, and then at some point you'd extend your hand, palm down. But because Hitler had become in power and because of his thing, they stopped.
Interesting.
But
yeah.
I just,
no,
I was like,
I didn't know that.
Well, I still got to use my little piece of information.
See, guys, that's why I switched it up on him and didn't tell him. Because he's not supposed to look up my stuff. He's doing Jim Crow next week, and I look up nothing about it.
I just was curious. I was like, what are you?
See, that's why I didn't tell him. I said, I'm going to switch it and not even going to tell him. You know
Good one. Good one.
Because I didn't tell you on purpose.
Because I was confused, because I was like, wait a minute. I didn't think that was it. As I'm looking, I'm like, this ain't the one I'm thinking. But I forgot, Star Spangled Banner didn't pop in my head.
The reason is I had looked up the Pledge of Allegiance, and it was taking a long time to get to like the bottom of it.
Yeah.
The history and what the words actually meant. And I'd always known about this, but always wanted to know more. I'd heard about what the poem really meant and how they had cut it and left the last verse off and all that. So I said, let me expose this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All I want, point to emphasize is they obviously knew that that third section was bad. Yeah. Otherwise, it would not have been, removed. Right. We would still be saying it if it,
right, of course.
But people knew, like, oh yeah, no, we can't have this.
Yeah, Also, what we should be clear about, or what I should be clear about, the folks listening understand that even though that last verse was left out and it took them 100 years to actually make it the national anthem, that last verse is meant to be a piece of the entire poem.
Yes.
It's a story he's actually telling, and the story he's telling is his disdain for those black slaves that went free and helped kick America's ass. So what the point that I'm trying to make is, don't think that because he only left the part out that didn't talk about the slaves, the whole thing was still about the slaves and what happened. Mm-hmm. That was just the summation of the poem at the end, where he just hit it on the head at the end, just drove it home. That's the point I want to make. Good. So which is why it says it should just be cut out of the lexicon. Mm-hmm. Even though the third verse isn't in it, they're still saying it should be cut out of the history. Correct. Because the whole thing still doesn't mean anything great. Yeah. How it was created, why it was created, the whole nine, Yeah. So, anyway, you have anything else?
Trying
to think of them.
Not really, but it's just what's in again how this ties in. So I'm a veteran, and if you don't know the history, it's made to feel like, home of the brave, right. For the the soldiers and everything. But no, it's not. So like this, all the discussions and debating over the kneeling and not kneeling and all that stuff should have have been irregardless because this whole poem is just wrong. In so many ways, yet people wanted to make a different issue over it. Right.
So what I'm going to do in closing is I'm going to read the whole thing to you guys so you could see how it's really supposed to be said.
Sing it.
You could see, I ain't singing. That I'm not going to do, no singing. But I'm going to just read the whole thing to you guys before we close out, just so you could see what it was, so you could hear it as a whole, how it goes together. So, oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and thy rocket's red glare, thy bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. And then I think you go to the stuff they left out, and then this, I think.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And where's the band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more. Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps, pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave. O the land of the free and the home of the brave. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Okay.
That's how I'm thinking it goes. Because I think what they did was ended it, you know what I'm saying? Instead, they added the ending to this first part instead of saying the thing. And maybe I should have even left out that last line and then said the end. I think this is the true ending of the whole thing.
I think it's in 2 verses. I think this is the first part, and that's because it still ends with,
the land of the free and home of the brave. Right. No, but you understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, what I'm thinking is,
I don't think he's repeating
after the first 2 verses. Yeah, he's not. That's what I'm saying. So I think after the first 2 verses, it's meant to stop here, right here, and then say this, and then just finish it. That's my whole point.
Okay.
Yeah. But, so this shouldn't be here if you're reading the whole thing. I'm saying, it should be this verse, and then it says, "And the star-spangled banner, triumph doth wave." And then the land of free and home of the brave. That's what I'm thinking. That's what it seems like to me. Okay. I mean, I've never seen it in its whole.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sense of it because it wouldn't make sense to say it twice. You see what I'm trying to say? So when they cut it, I think they took the ending and put it here.
But it's still, okay, because that's way different than.
But the last line is exactly the same.
The last line,
the one
which is why
it.
I kind of think it's this. And then it does go to that.
Right. Without these 2, right?
No, with those 2.
With those 2.
I do.
So say it twice then?
You're not saying it twice. I mean.
So you're saying say it here and then you say it here, then say it again.
Then it's said.
Got it.
The last part.
So they say it twice. That's what you say.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I got
it's
you.
almost like
kind of like a song.
Yes.
You know, it's a poem. They turned it into a song. Yeah, got it. Anyway, so just wanted to give you guys the whole thing so you could see what it's supposed to sound like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's our show for today. It's a quick one. It's okay to go shorter sometimes. I was watching Cannon's class with Nick Cannon. I was noticing that he'll do it and have 15-minute pieces and 10-minute and an hour piece, another show. And go ahead.
Well, I just want to reiterate, like we the previous episode. And what's interesting is the stuff we are covering, how they all sometimes intermix. You know what I mean? But just to reiterate. Educate yourself, learn what you're actually reading and talking about, because sometimes we are being fed. First time I'm really going to put it like this: we're being fed propaganda on a national level every day, and you're not being fed the truth of certain things, and it's been left out or rewritten and stuff like that, and it's so wrong. And again, America could have been great a long time ago if things were done very different.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this shouldn't even exist. I mean, they could have come up with anything for our national anthem but this racist poem.
Yep.
But yet they decided to just keep it, and it just trips me out. But yet they say they want to change thing, and no, we're not racist. There's no systemic racism.
Yeah.
Y'all have us singing a song that was against us, but yet you say you're for us. It's all bullshit. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's all BS. And like I said, I'll never have my child sing this song and all that kind of stuff. And parents at home, like Chris just said, teach your kids the correct history, because in school you're not going to get it.
They're not going to get it.
If you're a black and brown kid, or even if you're a white kid, you should know the true history of your black friend or your brown friend.
Right.
Because you should know
you should know it for the fact that it's the history of the country.
Of the United States. You should know that you shouldn't sing this because of what it means.
Correct.
Like, no, this isn't right. Our forefathers created this song for negative reasons, poem, and we shouldn't say it.
Yep.
So it's something that we all should learn and be doing and trying to do better and be better and teach the correct history, man. It's not cool, So anyway, that's our show. It's the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Don't forget to click like if you like us. Leave your comments in the description. What else? Follow us on Twitter. rptalktruth@gmail.com if you have any questions. Follow us on Instagram, social media. I think I said all that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's HPR Chronicles. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
Peace.